Yeah. I want to get back. So was a huge, when I came up, I got the name Bootleg Kev because I used to sell mixtapes, CDs, all that good shit. But you were kind of like, obviously got hip to you. I remember the mixtape you did with The Game.
Yeah. That mixtape had a DVD bundle, and that was my first video project ever.
That shit was a classic.
In life. Yeah, it's called The Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, it was. You had The Devil's Advocate, and then the Rap Phenomenon shit.
Yeah.
Was just like, I mean, was the Ghetto remix with Biggie and Tupac, the Akon Ghetto remix, was that on Rap Phenomenon? I think it was.
No.
It wasn't, no? But those were like, that was like an era of like, you know, I think kids don't ever understand, like, there was like the mixtape era followed by the blog era.
Yeah.
And then we got into the streaming era.
There's a mixtape era, I think, followed by the DVD era.
Yeah, but I look at the mixtape DVD era kind of around like
a little bit the same time.
Yeah,
but you got to give a shout out to people like Smack that really kind of
sure.
revolutionized the DVD era. And I was part of that era as well. I had the Hot in Here DVDs during that time, which was kind of the prequel to what Vlad TV became on YouTube.
What was, because obviously there was, I mean, this was kind of towards the, I wouldn't say the tail end, but like the big story that came out of the mixtape era was when Drama and those guys got hit. I think Big Mike got hit.
Yeah.
A few people got hit in the mixtape kind of era. Was that, I always wondered, for like a guy like you, who had some of the biggest mixtapes at the time, what were the economics behind that grind?
Well, that it's interesting you bring that up, because up until that time I was still pushing mixtapes, and I was actually a co-owner in one of the big mixtape websites. I don't want to say what it is because...
Was it Mix Unit?
No, it wasn't Mix Unit.
Okay.
But it was a competitor to Mix Unit, right? And I had a partner. We had a big warehouse in Brooklyn, which got broken into as soon as we opened it. We got all our stuff back eventually. But like, I was doing mixtapes and DVDs, but I was always sort of edgy about the whole thing because I understood that we're not clearing any of the copyrights. I mean, we're bootlegging essentially.
Yeah, almost like this is good, too good to be true. So we got to kind of treat it that way.
So and like me and my partner at the time always kind of had friction because he wanted to keep growing it. And I'm like, why are we growing something that's essentially illegal? We're just putting ourselves on a radar to be busted that much harder. Like I remember I had a condo that I had to put in my parents' name because I was worried that it might get seized and whatever else. And I remember seeing the video of DJ Drama getting busted, and they were like towing his BMW and seizing everything. And I said, that's it, I'm done. Like that right there was the sign I was looking for. So I basically just gave, me and my partner worked it out where I gave him the company, and I was done with it. Yeah, I just said if the repercussions is getting busted by the feds and having everything seized, it's just, I've had a great run with this. I made a name for myself. I had some fans, like, people knew who I was. People respected the artistry of the rap phenomenons and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm done. Let me just focus on video and what comes with it. And then shortly afterwards, that's when YouTube became a thing. Yeah.
It was like, it's interesting too, because I remember you would go by the Butcher.
Yeah, Vlad the Butcher.
And
shout out to Benny.
Yeah. But you were the first Butcher for real.
I was the first Butcher. Yeah, it's funny because I remember when I first heard 97 Hove by Benny the Butcher, that Alchemist produced. This was before Benny really got on.
Yeah, 97 Hove was like that. I think it was Tana Talk 3.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And that was, I think, the turning point in his career.
It was, for sure.
But when I heard that song, I'm like, this is so dope. And I remember I hit up Alchemist. I'm like, this is dope. He's like, one butcher to another butcher. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. He was the first person to actually point that out. Not that Benny got the name from me, because
no, for sure.
But it was just coincidence that two dudes in hip hop have the Butcher name.
Well, it was like you guys were able to make original songs out of like remixes.
Yeah, I mean the Tupac Rap Phenomenon. That was me, Dirty Harry, and Green Lantern. So at the time, Green Lantern was Eminem's DJ.
Yep.
Dirty Harry was Nas's DJ and Alicia Keys' DJ. And we just came together, and we all just got acapellas, and we all had relationships with different artists. So one of it was, just doing blends and remixes, but the bigger part was, hey, let's get real artists to jump on these songs. So like having Alicia Keys sing a Tupac song as an interlude, having, I'd call Bun B. He shot me a verse for one of the songs. Exhibit was on there. Bounty Killer was on there. Wyclef had a song with Tupac, which pissed off a lot of Tupac fans because he was Tupac was beefing with the Fugees at one point, and but it was just like it was a project that never would have happened through the labels,
right?
Because it was just too many clearances and too much everything, and
I've been happy to see like some of those mixtape albums finally hitting DSPs, like J. Cole shit has been big.
Yeah, but that was all original stuff.
No, but I'm saying like that was more blog era mixtapes, right? So that was like a little bit later. But those that was the thing. It was like I remember my hustle was burning the CDs in my parents' house, and then I had like 7 or 8 vendors that I would just drop product off to like once a week. So it'd be like the Southern Smokes, the Rap Phenomenon. Shout out to DJ Smalls, who had like the hot down south shit drama, and I was always just like, damn, I guess that would be the hustle, is like bootlegging everything and then having a website. Because Mix Unit, I mean, Clinton Sparks was Mix Unit. That shit was booming. I bought so much like I had so many rap shirts that I bought off of that site. Like, but there was quite an era, man. You were an important part of that era before Vlad TV was even the thing. So it's like, man, for people who are like surface level, like just they know what Vlad TV is. Like, you have like a real history in the game before that.
I mean, I was trying to figure it out, man. I was broke. Like, that was 10 years of being broke.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, from 2002 to like maybe 2011 is when the money started kind of coming in. So you talk about like 9 years of just like scraping by, thinking that there was something on the horizon, not sure what it is. But, just happy, I'm just happy to be in it. Just happy to be a hip hop kid that, like driving. I remember when we dropped Rap Phenomenon 2, like cars were driving by, bumping it, and it was like, wow, like, then that Tupac mixtape won Mixtape of the Year,
the Justos
Mixtape Awards, which was a big deal at the time. XL gave it Mixtape of the Year, and it was like MTV featured it, and it was like for the first time, I'm like, kind of felt like transitioning from being a fan to actually being
like a professional, like I can make money off this. I can have a career, maybe.
Well, not even making money, but just making an impact. On the genre,
right?
And that meant a lot to me because I never thought that I would actually accomplish that. I was always just a fan. I always thought I'd just be a fan,
right?
And to go from a fan to actually be something that other DJs and other artists really were fucking with was like, wow. Like I'm still surprised that ever happened.
Right, yo. From what? So obviously there's the. By the way, shout out to everybody because there's going to be some comments in this interview where it's like the culture vultures unite. I feel like anybody who's white in hip hop, they call us culture vultures. But I want to know at what point in time, because there's this narrative out there that you're very aware of. You've talked about it a lot, that you're the feds or people come on your show to get interrogated, etc. Do you remember what point in time that narrative, because I feel like it went from you kind of being like an underground beloved like YouTube channel where people were getting like fucking sick interviews, so all of a sudden it felt like there was like a stigma to a Vlad interview. Do you remember like that? Like, were you paying attention enough to feel that happening?
I mean, from the very first moment that I decided to do Vlad TV, it was calculated that I'm not going to be doing the type of interviews that were the norm in hip hop, which were radio interviews.
Correct.
And they're very surface level.
Very cheeky, very, hey, I don't want to piss the label off.
It was... There wasn't a lot of long form stuff because radio format is like, we just need a few sound bites.
100%.
And I just felt like nobody was asking the serious questions. Like, everyone was just dancing around trying to be friends with the rappers and hoping to get invited to the parties and being cool with the labels and all that shit. And I'm like, I looked up to 60 Minutes. Like, to me, 60 Minutes was... kind of like the goal that I had set for myself. Like 60 Minutes, they do interviews that change global politics, that make a difference, that affect stock prices, affect presidents getting elected, like that type of thing. Not to say that I've accomplished that, but I'm saying that
No, I mean,
that's what I aspired. That's what I aspired to, and I felt like I was just bored watching all these interviews. Like they weren't asking the questions that me and my friends were asking. These were not the barbershops. When you go to a barbershop, this is not what people are talking about. They're not talking about like, let's talk about this feature on this album.
Who's on your album? Yeah.
Like, so I came in going like, yo, I'm going to ask the uncomfortable questions. I'm going to ask the real questions. I'm going to figure out a way to do it where the person doesn't storm out.
Yeah, where you want to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah, there's an art to it all. So and with that came the whole, he's the feds or whatever. But honestly, I never really cared about that because I always knew that I was not the feds. I always knew I was not working with law enforcement. Like I always knew that I did my best to try to protect people. I never talked about open
Any
cases.
Active cases.
Yeah. I there were situations with like Draco the Ruler, his manager wanted me to do an interview while he was still facing his murder case in jail, and I turned it down because I'm like, I don't want this to be part of the case.
Because it would have been.
It would have been part of the case, like Lil Woody. I didn't interview him until Young Thug accepted his plea deal because I knew that this interview was going to be part of this trial if I did it earlier. So I've always been extremely careful, and if you look at 17 years and thousands and thousands and thousands of interviews, the only time that I know that an interview got used in a case, which it hasn't been yet, but it probably will be, is the Keefe D case.
Right.
And in that case, he wrote a book that was on Amazon that talked about everything that's in the interview. So
right.
And he said that he had immunity and so forth. So it's like, all right, well, you wrote a book, you want to do it, everyone's aware of what's happening. All right, cool, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you write a book, it's fair game to
talk about the book.
Yeah, I mean, because otherwise you're not talking to Keefe D if you don't have that book out.
Right.
I mean, I think too, the other thing is like interesting is like artists will put shit on social media. They'll go on Instagram Live and say shit. They'll tweet shit. They'll put shit in their records. And then they'll voluntarily go sit down for an interview and get mad if certain shit is brought up that they've already put into it's like pick your poison. You know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, one of the funniest things I ever heard, me and academics were talking about this when Ak and Meek Mill were beefing. One of the times that they
I was about to say one of the 30 times.
One of the 30 times they were beefing. And Meek Mill was like, yo, why would you repost pictures of me and my homies waving around guns when you know that we have warrants out? And it's like,
you posted them?
You're mad at academics over reposting the shit that you posted yourself.
Like you posted it yourself. Yeah.
Like I just can't understand this logic. I can't get my head around this. It makes no sense to me whatsoever to say that.
Yeah.
But yet he said it publicly.
Yeah. It's like, but you did this. People can find this.
You're mad that academics reposted some shit that you should have never posted.
Right.
Okay. Okay.